All right, so let's dive into something I know a lot of you have probably been curious about,
Hmm.
and that is muscle aging.
Yeah.
You know, we've all felt that twinge in our back after, like, lifting something heavy or just needing an extra day to recover from a hard workout.
Right.
Why does it seem like our bodies don't bounce back the way they used to, when we were younger?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to explore today.
Cool.
Um, Using some really cool research from an article called Nar Muskelern Eldies,
Okay.
which translates to When Muscles Age.
Gotcha.
It's by Catherine Nielsen, who is a muscle physiology expert. And get this, the article asks a really fascinating question.
Okay.
If muscle aging actually begins in our 30s, why don't we really notice it until much later?
It's almost like our bodies are kind of playing a clever trick on us.
Yeah, right.
Think about it. Even someone like Usain Bolt,
Oh, yeah.
at the peak
Yeah.
of human athletic performance,
Yeah.
still experiences this decline as he gets older.
That's a great point. I mean, we all saw how his career eventually, slowed down.
Right. And while you may not see a visible change in his physique,
Yeah.
those tiny declines in muscle speed, endurance, and recovery time,
Mm-hmm.
they really make a difference.
Yeah.
Especially at that elite level.
Right.
Just a fraction of a second can mean,
Huge difference.
winning or losing.
Totally. Which makes you wonder then, what's happening at a microscopic level that we can't see?
Exactly. What's fascinating here is that this muscle aging process
Yeah.
starts much earlier than most people think,
Really?
often in our 30s.
Wow.
But it's very subtle, almost sneaky,
Okay.
because it's masked by other tissues.
So how is our body being sneaky?
Well, as we age, fat and connective tissue begin to gradually replace muscle mass. So the muscle might appear to stay the same size,
Ooh.
but the quality of the muscle is actually changing,
So it's not about the size of the muscle, it's more about what it's made of.
right? And there are a couple of theories about why this happens. One thought is that age-related fat accumulation leads to increased inflammation
Yeah.
throughout the body, impacting muscle health.
Makes sense.
Another theory focuses on those tiny tears we get in our muscles.
Yeah.
The kind that happen with exercise or everyday wear and tear.
Right.
Over time, these can lead to a buildup of scar tissue,
Interesting.
changing the muscle's makeup.
So basically our muscles start to change in ways we don't even realize. But if we're losing muscle mass, where does it actually go?
That's where we get into the world of muscle fibers.
Okay.
Now, muscle fibers are unique because they have multiple nuclei, unlike most cells.
Interesting.
And the important thing to understand is that with age,
Okay.
we lose entire muscle fibers,
Oh, wow.
not just bits and pieces.
So you're saying we're not just talking about like the muscle shrinking. We're
Right.
talking about actual muscle fibers disappearing.
That's right. Fewer muscle fibers mean a decreased ability to generate force and strength. There are two main theories for why this happens.
Okay.
One is that our satellite cells, which are stem cells responsible for muscle repair and growth,
Right.
become exhausted and can no longer keep up with the demand for muscle fiber renewal.
So it's like having a repair crew that's getting tired and can't work as fast as it used to.
Exactly. And the other theory revolves around something called autophagy,
Okay.
which is basically our body's cleanup system for damaged proteins within cells.
Right.
As we age, this system may become less efficient, leading to a buildup of these harmful proteins in muscle fibers, eventually causing cell death.
So are you saying our muscle cells might actually be dying?
Unfortunately, yes, some of them do.
Wow, okay.
It's important to note that it's not just about entire muscle fibers disappearing.
Okay.
The fibers that remain can also shrink,
Oh.
a process known as atrophy.
Okay, so atrophy is like muscle downsizing.
Yeah.
What causes that to happen?
Essentially, muscle fiber atrophy means a decrease in protein content within the fiber. It's like the muscle fiber is losing its building blocks, becoming thinner and weaker.
Right.
And this likely happens because the balance between protein synthesis, the creation of new proteins,
Yeah.
and protein breakdown
Yeah.
tips towards breakdown as we age.
So our bodies are constantly making new proteins.
Yes.
But as we get older, we break down more than we build up.
That's a good way to think about it.
Gotcha.
There's another factor at play here,
Okay.
which is the connection between our nerves and muscle fibers.
Okay.
This connection can weaken with age, leading to less muscle activity,
Yeah.
and you guessed it, more atrophy.
So the signals from our brain to our muscles aren't as strong.
Right.
And our muscles become less active and start to shrink.
That's it. And this brings us to an important point.
Okay.
We've been talking a lot about the quantity of muscle,
Yeah.
but the quality of our muscle
Yeah.
also declines with age.
So how does the quality of muscle change?
So the quality of muscle contractions deteriorates, meaning the force our muscles can generate decreases.
Okay.
This is partly due to changes at the microscopic level,
Right.
affecting how proteins within the muscle interact to produce force.
So even if we have the muscle mass,
Yeah,
the power it can generate might be weaker?
exactly. And it's not just the muscle fibers themselves.
Okay.
Tendons, the connective tissues that link muscle to bone,
Yeah.
also change with age,
Right.
potentially becoming less efficient at transmitting force.
It sounds like a whole cascade of changes.
Yeah,
So is there anything we can do to fight back against all of this muscle aging?
absolutely.
Yes.
The good news is that we can delay muscle aging.
Okay. That's good.
And one of the most powerful ways to do that is through exercise, especially strength training.
So hitting the gym isn't just for looks, it's essential for healthy aging.
That's right. Strength training helps maintain protein synthesis,
Okay.
which is the creation of new proteins.
Mm.
It also keeps those satellite cells,
Yeah.
those muscle repair crews,
Right.
active and functioning.
Okay, so strength training is key. What about other types of exercise, like running or cycling?
Those are important too.
Okay.
Endurance training helps maintain that nerve-muscle connection we talked about,
Yeah.
improves blood flow,
Mm-hmm.
and enhances muscle recovery.
So a combination of strength and endurance training is the ideal approach to maintaining youthful muscles.
Exactly. And remember, it's never too late to start.
That's good.
Even if you haven't been a regular exerciser, incorporating some strength and endurance training can make a significant difference.
So no excuses.
Right.
But what about
Else.
people who become less active as they get older?
Yeah.
Is there anything that can be done to help them?
That's a critical point because decreased activity is a major contributor to muscle loss as we age.
Right.
The problem is that older muscles are even more vulnerable to inactivity.
Oh, really?
They lose mass more quickly and have a harder time regaining it.
It's like a vicious cycle, right?
It is?
Muscle loss leads to less activity, which leads to even more muscle loss.
Exactly.
So how do we break that cycle?
It all comes down to promoting and supporting physical activity,
Yeah.
even in small amounts.
Okay.
Encouraging older adults to move more, even a little bit each day,
Right.
can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And getting them moving as soon as possible after an illness or injury
Yeah.
is crucial to prevent further muscle loss.
This is all really fascinating. It's amazing how much is going on beneath the surface of our muscles as we age. But if muscle aging really does start in our 30s, why don't we notice the effects until much later? It's almost like our body hides it from us.
You're right. It's quite remarkable how our bodies adapt.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, fat and connective tissue can mask muscle loss early on,
Yeah.
making it less noticeable.
Right.
But there's more to it than that.
Okay.
Our nervous system also plays a role.
How does our nervous system come into play?
Well, in the early stages of aging,
Mm-hmm.
our nervous system actually compensates for those subtle changes in muscle function. For example, it might recruit more muscle fibers
Yeah.
or fire those fibers more frequently
Hmm.
to maintain the same level of force production.
So our brains are basically working harder to make up for the muscle decline we don't even realize is happening?
Precisely.
Wow.
It's a testament to the amazing adaptability of our nervous system.
Totally.
But eventually, these compensatory mechanisms reach their limit.
So there's only so much our bodies can do to compensate.
Right.
And when those mechanisms can no longer keep up, that's when we start to see and feel those more obvious signs of muscle aging.
Exactly.
Like decreased strength,
Right.
slower movement,
Yeah.
less endurance.
That's exactly right. And that's why it's so important to be proactive about muscle health,
Yeah.
engaging in regular exercise,
Mhm.
maintaining a healthy diet,
Right.
and addressing lifestyle factors like sleep and stress
Yeah.
can all help support those compensatory mechanisms and delay those more noticeable effects of muscle aging.
It's like staying ahead of the game, setting ourselves up for a future where our muscles stay strong and healthy for as long as possible.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's an investment in our long-term health and well-being.
This has been such an insightful discussion. We've learned so much about the factors that influence muscle aging. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about, knowing now that muscle aging starts earlier than we think. What one small change can you make today to support your muscle health for the long run? We'll be back in part 2 to explore even more fascinating aspects of muscle aging, so stay tuned.
Awesome.
See you then.
All right. Welcome back. I hope that question is giving you some food for thought.
It definitely is a lot to consider, and it really highlights that we have more control over our muscle health than we might think.
Right.
But before we move on, I wanted to touch on something we talked about earlier, how fat and connective tissue start to replace muscle mass as we age.
Yeah.
It made me wonder about the role of diet in all of this.
Hmm.
Does what we eat influence how our muscles age?
It's a great question. And the connection between diet and muscle aging is an area of active research.
Okay.
While exercise is critical, what we eat plays a supporting role.
Yeah.
Think of it like this exercise gives your muscles the signal to grow and stay strong.
Mm-hmm.
But good nutrition provides the building blocks they need.
So it's like exercise is the coach, but nutrition is the team providing the fuel.
That's a great analogy.
I like that.
And when it comes to muscle health as we age,
Right.
one of the most important things is getting enough protein.
Okay.
Remember, we naturally lose muscle mass over time,
Yeah.
and that loss is accelerated if we don't consume adequate protein.
Protein is essential for building and repairing tissue, right?
That's right. It provides the amino acids our muscles need to stay strong and healthy.
Mm.
But it's not just about quantity.
Oh.
It's also about quality.
Okay.
Lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, and dairy are excellent sources of protein,
Right.
as are plant-based options like beans, lentils, and tofu.
So a balanced approach incorporating both animal and plant-based sources is key.
Exactly. And it's not just about protein.
Okay.
A balanced diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and whole grains is also crucial.
Yeah.
They provide vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants
Mm-hmm.
that help protect muscle cells from damage.
So it's about nourishing our bodies with a wide range of nutrients to
Correct.
keep our muscles functioning at their best.
Precisely. It's about fueling our bodies with the right ingredients.
I like that.
Another key dietary consideration is managing calorie intake.
Okay.
As our metabolism naturally slows down with age,
Right.
we need fewer calories to maintain our weight.
Yeah.
If we continue to eat the same amount as we did when we were younger,
Mm-hmm.
we may start to gain weight, and some of that weight gain can end up as fat around our muscles.
It's like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
Our bodies change and our diets need to change along with them.
Exactly. Portion control and mindful eating can help.
Okay.
And of course, regular exercise can help boost metabolism and burn off excess calories.
So it's not just about what we eat, it's also about how much we eat.
Right. It's all about finding a balance that works for your individual needs and activity level.
Okay, so we've covered exercise and diet as two crucial factors in muscle aging.
Mm-hmm.
But what about other lifestyle factors?
Sure.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking specifically about sleep.
Yeah.
Does that play a role in muscle health?
Sleep is incredibly important. It's often overlooked,
Yeah.
but it's essential for muscle recovery and growth.
Okay.
When we sleep, our bodies release hormones
Mm-hmm.
that promote tissue repair and muscle protein synthesis.
So if we're not getting enough sleep, we're essentially robbing our muscles of the time they need to rebuild and recover.
That's a good way to put it. We need to give our bodies a chance to rest and recharge.
Yeah.
And that means aiming for 7-9 hours of quality sleep each night.
I know. I feel the difference when I don't get enough sleep. My workouts definitely suffer.
Exactly. And another lifestyle factor that can affect muscle health is stress.
Oh, yeah.
When we're chronically stressed, our bodies release hormones like cortisol,
Right.
which can actually break down muscle tissue.
It's like stress is telling our bodies to switch from build mode to breakdown mode.
That's a good analogy, and stress can also disrupt our sleep patterns,
Right.
further hindering muscle recovery.
Yeah.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress,
Mm-hmm.
like exercise, meditation, or spending time in nature,
Yeah.
is essential for both our mental and physical well-being.
It all comes back to that interconnectedness, doesn't it? Our mental, emotional, and physical health are all intertwined.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Taking a holistic approach to our well-being,
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing sleep, managing stress, and nourishing our bodies with a balanced diet
Right.
creates the most supportive environment for healthy muscle aging.
It's like setting our muscles up for success.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about being proactive
Yeah.
rather than just accepting muscle decline as an inevitable part of aging.
Right.
We have more control than we might realize.
So going back to the article, When Muscles Age, by Catherine Nielsen,
Yeah.
you know the article that inspired this whole deep dive? It raises a really intriguing question.
Okay.
If muscle aging starts in our 30s, why don't we really see or feel the effects until much later?
It's a fascinating point,
Yeah.
and it speaks to the incredible adaptability of the human body.
Right.
We've already discussed how things like fat and connective tissue can mask early muscle loss.
Right.
making it less noticeable.
Yeah.
But there's another factor at play, our nervous system.
We talked about the nerve-muscle connection earlier, but how does our nervous system help hide the effects of muscle aging?
Early in the aging process,
Yeah.
our nervous system actually adapts to compensate for those subtle changes in muscle function. It might start recruiting more muscle fibers to do a task, or tell those fibers to fire more frequently to maintain the same level of force production.
So our brain is kind of picking up the slack, making sure things keep running smoothly, even though the muscles themselves are starting to change.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
It's amazing how adaptable our bodies can be, but even the most impressive compensatory mechanisms
Yeah.
have their limits.
So at some point, our brains can't keep up the charade.
Eventually, those compensatory mechanisms can no longer fully compensate.
Yeah.
And that's when we start to see and feel those more noticeable signs of muscle aging.
No.
Decreased strength, slower movement, less endurance.
It's like our bodies are putting on a brave face, but eventually the underlying changes can't be hidden any longer.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to focus on those things we can control.
Yeah.
Exercise, nutrition, sleep, stress management.
Right.
These are the tools that can help us support those compensatory mechanisms and delay those more noticeable effects of muscle aging.
It's about being proactive, building a strong foundation for our muscle health as we age.
Yeah.
This has been a fascinating exploration of how our muscles change over time. We've learned so much about the factors that influence muscle aging and the ways our bodies adapt. But before we wrap up this second part of our deep dive, I have a question for you. Knowing that muscle aging is a gradual process that starts earlier than we think, what are some other strategies we can use to combat those changes? We'll tackle that question and more in our final part. Stay with us.
Welcome back to our deep dive into muscle aging.
Yeah.
I'm excited to kind of continue this conversation
Yeah.
and really explore some practical strategies for
Right.
staying strong and vital as we age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as I was thinking about this, I realized
Yeah.
a lot of people might feel kind of overwhelmed by all this information. Like, where do we even start?
Right.
We know exercise and diet are important, but
Yeah.
are there any other specific recommendations?
Yeah, you're right. It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be this drastic overhaul.
Right.
One of the most important things is consistency.
Okay.
It's not about sporadic bursts of activity or crash diets. It's about making sustainable lifestyle changes that you can maintain over time.
It's about creating healthy habits that become second nature.
Yeah.
And another thing to keep in mind is that our muscles thrive on challenge.
Okay.
As we age, it's easy to fall into a routine of doing the same activities at the same intensity.
Right.
But to really support muscle health, we need to push ourselves a little.
Yeah.
Try new things and keep our muscles guessing.
So mixing up our workouts, trying new activities,
Right.
maybe even increasing the intensity a bit.
Exactly.
That's all part of the equation.
And remember, it's never too late to start.
Yeah, that's good.
Even if you've been inactive for a while, any amount of movement is better than none.
Right.
It's like that saying, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The second best time is today.
I love that analogy. It's a powerful reminder that we can always make positive changes
Right.
no matter where we are in our lives.
Exactly. And those changes don't have to be huge.
Right.
Even small adjustments can make a big difference over time.
Mm.
Take the stairs instead of the elevator.
Yeah.
Park a little farther away from your destination.
Right.
Go for a walk during your lunch break.
Mm-hmm.
These little bits of activity add up.
It's about incorporating movement into our everyday lives, making it a natural part of our routine.
Exactly. And if you're feeling lost or unsure where to begin,
Yeah.
don't hesitate to reach out to a qualified professional.
Right.
A personal trainer or exercise physiologist can help you create a safe and effective program tailored to your individual needs and goals.
It's about getting the support we need to succeed. So to recap, we've talked about the importance of consistency, challenging our muscles, starting wherever we are,
Right?
making small but meaningful changes, and seeking guidance when necessary.
Yeah.
These are all incredibly valuable strategies for supporting our muscles as we age.
And I think it's important to emphasize that this isn't just about maintaining physical strength or independence.
Yeah.
It's about fostering a sense of well-being and vitality that permeates every aspect of our lives.
I couldn't agree more. You know, throughout this entire deep dive, we've talked about muscle aging as a process of decline.
Right.
Almost as if it's something to be feared or dreaded.
Yeah.
But I think there's a different way to look at it, What if, instead of viewing it as a loss, we
Mm.
see it as an opportunity?
I love that. Tell me more.
An opportunity to learn more about our bodies, to adapt and evolve, to embrace the journey of aging with strength, resilience, and a newfound appreciation for these amazing machines we call our muscles.
That's a beautiful perspective.
Yeah.
It's about reframing aging not as a process of deterioration, but as a process of transformation.
Totally.
It's about understanding that while we may not be able to turn back the clock, we can certainly influence how we age.
Right.
And by prioritizing our muscle health, we're not just investing in our physical strength,
Mhm.
but in our overall well-being
Yeah.
and our ability to live full, active lives for years to come.
This has been such a powerful and insightful exploration of muscle aging.
It has.
We've debunked some myths, explored the science, and hopefully inspired our listeners to take charge of their health.
Absolutely.
We've learned that knowledge is power and that we have more control over our aging process than we might think.
Couldn't agree more.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of muscle aging. Remember, it's never too late to start taking care of your muscles, and the benefits will ripple out into every aspect of your life. Until next time, stay curious, stay active, and keep those muscles strong.